Okay, we got an interesting car today. It's a 2024 brand new Honda Accord Sport Hybrid. And it's got some really interesting technology. Of course, it's a beautiful looking car. It's a Honda Accord and it's a 2024, so it's got style, it's got the fancy wheels. But one thing on the back that's different is it is an Accord Hybrid Sport. When you look under the hood, it has a beautiful paint job. I really like the color. You see what looks like a normal Honda engine. It's a 4-cylinder inline, but there's really nothing normal about it. To begin with, just like the Toyota hybrids, it's an Atkinson cycle engine. So it's built for more efficiency. Now, originally they made Atkinson cycle engines a long time ago, and they failed because they have less horsepower, but they get better gas mileage. So you might think, okay, this thing must be a dog. No, it's not a dog. Because it's a hybrid, but not any hybrid, it's Honda's new system. Under here, there are two electric motors. The big one on the top puts out like 181 horsepower, and the little one is used to charge the battery up and to start the car. It has no lack of acceleration because of the hybrid system. But since it's Honda's system that's different than everybody else's, he averages 46 miles a gallon driving this thing around. Now, he does usually keep it in econ mode, because if he puts it in sport mode, man, it's even zippier, but of course, you're gonna use more gas. It can run on this engine alone. It goes through the drive motors in there. It can run on the motor itself, or it can run on the gasoline motor and the electric motor at the same time. This is a normal hybrid. It's not a plug-in hybrid. You never have to worry about plugging it in, because if you decelerate or hit the brakes, regenerative braking sends electricity back to the battery through the little electric motor on the bottom. And if you're driving down the road and the battery's getting low, part of the gasoline motor engine can run the car, while another part can recharge the battery. It has this very interesting electronically controlled clutch system, so that extra electricity, the bottom motor, which is also of course a generator, to recharge the battery until it's full, and then it doesn't energize it anymore. So not being a fully electric car plug-in hybrid, it's a much safer and prone to less problems than a plug-in hybrid or a full electric car, because the battery's in the back inside the car, just like a Toyota Prius, as long as it's not a plug-in Prius. So you don't have to worry about salt water intrusion in the winter when they're throwing salt on the road, destroying the battery. It is inside the car. Realize this, that if you get a plug-in hybrid or a full electric car, the batteries are much bigger than these. So they're all on the bottom of the car, and they get destroyed by the salt and the water in the winter and just plain old road grit, so they can have problems. If you remember, last year in Quebec, the Canadian government forced Toyota to fix all these plug-in RAV4s for free, because Toyota said, oh no, that's the wiring, that's not part of the drivetrain. The Canadians said, you're going to fix those for free, and they had to either fix them or reimburse people who are already paid to get them fixed, because a plug-in hybrid has a lot of electronics outside of the car, including the battery, and that causes problem. In this case, no, it's inside the car. You don't have to think about it, so you don't have to worry about range anxiety either. He's averages like 44 or 45 miles a gallon in this thing. Of course, a true hybrid, so it gets a little bit better gas mileage in town than it does on the highway, but it'll still get in the 40s on the highway if you put it in the economy mode. So it gets phenomenal gas mileage. Now, if you're thinking about transitioning into the future, my advice would be do it with a hybrid like this. Don't go full electric, because and even you're sticking your neck out, because that plug-in hybrid's got the big battery on the bottom that's going to get destroyed over time. The plug-in hybrid and full electric cars, those batteries cost a fortune. Now, when these things first come out, of course, even the regular hybrid batteries are expensive, but take like the Priuses. I've seen people get $900 refurbished batteries that worked okay. So you're not paying the $5,000 to $9,000 the original batteries were, and over time, I'm sure these things will come out with rebuilt ones as they age. But this guy didn't have to worry about that for quite some time, because he purchased the extended warranty. Now, I'm not always a fan of extended warranties, but he purchased it through Honda, and in this case it's smart. He now has 120,000 miles, or 7 years, all the electronic stuff. Right now, if you don't purchase this, it's like 3 years or 38,000 miles for a bunch of the car. The batteries generally have a longer warranty, but he went for the whole package. And in the case of me hating extended warranties, this is one case when I'd say you're probably wise to buy the extended warranty, so you got 7 years, 130,000 miles, a trouble-free drive. Now, I did have to pay $2,700 for the extended warranty, but if you put that over an 8-year period, that's not much. And realize, this is extremely high technology. For that amount of money, in a hybrid like this, I'd say it's definitely worth it. Now, on the other hand, let's say you're going to buy a conventional engine Honda, I'd say don't waste your money on the warranty, because hey, 130,000 miles, 7 years, I never see Hondas break before then anyway. So, but in the case of this particular new hybrid design, I'd say get the warranty. He's already used the warranty. Now, you can't blame the car. It's because he lives in Massachusetts and he says they got the worst roads. I kind of argue that Rhode Island usually gets the worst roads. Well, one of his tires blew up and he almost didn't make it here, because this is one thing that I got against many new cars. Because inside the trunk, there's no spare tire. Yeah, the evil swines took the spare tires out. He waited 4 hours for a AAA guy to come, took it to the dealer, but he got a new tire free at least, because he has the warranty. I mean, hey, the guy paid 35 grand for a car. Couldn't they have given him a spare tire, right? And they try to say, well, it takes up space, it weighs, you get better gas mileage without a spare tire. Well, guess what? Most men have spare tires on them. They're adding the weight just climbing into the car, right? And they don't give you one because it's cheaper to make them, that's all. Hey, please, people, even if it's those crappy donut spares, at least he could have put it on, then he could have driven where he wanted to go and get it fixed, right? I mean, they'll give you a little air pump or something, but hey, you got a big hole in your car. Air pump is going to do you any good. It gets shredded. Something goes wrong with it. Please, bring back spare tires, companies. It's getting to be ridiculous. Now, if you're looking at an Accord, you got two choices, really. You can get this hybrid, or you can get a turbocharged 4. I don't advise getting the turbocharged 4. Turbocharged engines always wear out faster. Extra pressure, higher RPMs. But in the case of this thing, the big electric motor hiding under here, it takes most of the torque when you're really taking off. And of course, electric motors have instant torque. As soon as they take off, they have full torque. Unlike a gasoline engine that, like a turbo, has to rev up high before it starts putting out a lot of torque and horsepower, this puts it out right away. So they accelerate quite well, but the acceleration isn't wearing your engine out, because it doesn't have to over rev, because it's using the electric motor to give it oomph. Oh, as complex as this thing may be, you get power and phenomenal gas mileage at the same time while not wearing the engine out. I've seen turbo gasoline 4-cylinder engines burn out at 65,000 miles in some cars. I've seen many of these Atkinson cycle 4-cylinder engines go 300,000, still running like a clock, not burning any oil, because with the hybrid system, they're not being strained. Now, granted, there's plus and negative everything. The negative is it's extremely complex, right? When they break, good luck finding somebody to fix it, right? But as it's a Honda and he's got a 120,000 mile warranty, hey, he's not have to think about that for quite some time. But from my experience with these things, I predict this thing's gonna last a really long time, because Honda makes good engines. The only thing that messes with most modern Honda engines are some of them will get oil dilution. They'll get gasoline in the oil. And that's because they have turbocharged GDI engine. All that pressure blows the gasoline past the rings, and away you go. Take a look inside. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of complexity on this. It can show you the power you're using. It can show if it's only working on EV, if it's using the engine. You can put the dash up so you can see where the electricity and everything's going. It's drive modes. You see, we'll push the button. It's on Eco now. You can do normal. You can do sport. We'll leave it in sport to see how zippy it is, right? And as you see, when we go into sport, nice little dash there, comfy seats, so let's take it for a ride. Really nice camera, very good definition. And if you wonder what that sound is, well, it comes with a herd of angels too. It's supposed to warn you a car's coming. Well, people hear that, they're like, what are some angels floating around here? Back up, man, that is one good backup camera. Look, it is crystal clear. You can really see what's going on. And the big plus with these things are, you never have to worry about fan belts, because the car doesn't have any fan belts, drive belts, whatever you're gonna call. It's got electronic air conditioning, it's got electronic power steering, so it don't need no stinking fan belts. You don't have to worry about them wearing out. It doesn't have any. Now, here we go on the worst road in Rhode Island. We'll see what it's like on the bumps. Boy, it's smooth. And that's even in the sport function. But the real test is going to be up the top of the hill. Let's see how it accelerates with this crazy 2 electric motor and Atkinson cycle gasoline engine hooked up together. You see, they have insane range. He already drove here and he still got 565 miles of range left. No range anxiety here. You're only gonna get butt anxiety because your butt's gonna get sore from sitting for 600 miles driving down the road. So here we go. Woo! It almost burned out, but it's got traction control, so it wouldn't let it burn out. Now you can tell by the noise it's a CVT transmission, but you step on it, instant torque from that electric motor. This baby's fun to drive, even though they technically call it a CVT transmission, an intelligent electronic one. It's fast, but it gets good gas mileage, and it doesn't have the lag that a regular CVT does. And when you stop cars, all you can hear is the turn signal clicking. I have it in sport mode, so the motor stays on. If you're one of those people that hate engines that turn on and off, just put it in sport mode, then it won't shut itself off. I gotta say, it's a typical Honda, you know? It handles like a dream when you're taking off, and even going uphill. This baby goes, man, it goes. And you can mess with the paddle shifters if you want. Me, I'll just step on the gas. It's fast enough. Man, that thing's got some nice zip to it. I'd see it shows you how the power flow is. We're going downhill, so it's green. It's regenerating electricity. We step on the gas, then it shows the power's coming from the blue electricity to run it. But now we're gliding, and now we're hitting the brakes. And it just regenerates electricity while you're going down the road. You can also see the way I'm driving, okay? It says current drive is 27 miles a gallon. I'm driving like a maniac, right? He gets 44 miles a gallon because he doesn't put it in sport much, keeps it on eco, and he drives conservatively. That shows you the real difference. There's perfect proof here. He gets 20 miles a gallon better than I do because I'm hitting the pedal to the metal to try it out. So if you don't want the pedal to the metal, you can see it's on sport. You can put an individual setup, or normal, or if you want the best gas mileage, keep it in economy, like he does. And look, economy shows you it's green. We'll go back one. Oh, look, it's green, it's green, it's economy, everything's green. It's rare that you can find a car like this that can basically do everything, right? You want to get 45, 46 miles a gallon or better? Put it on econo. You want to drive like me, like a scalded ape? Put it on sport. You're going to spend more on gasoline, but you can do that whenever you want. It's not like, well, I spent a bunch of money building my engine up and now it's real fast, but it eats a lot of gas. Well, push a button, you go from 27 miles a gallon to 47 miles a gallon if you drive equivalently, of course. But I do have to say, it's extremely complex technology, 2 electric motors, Atkinson cycles through this really crazy transmission system that goes to the drive wheels, but Honda generally makes things pretty good. The only problem I've seen on these is some of the cars that they made previous to this one, they forgot to put a fuse on one of the wires, and they said, oh, it could have a fire, so they had to recall them and put a fuse on a particular wire. That was the only thing. I've not seen them break down. I haven't seen anybody have any problems with them. It is Honda, and let's face the facts. Now, I'm not going to say anything about when this thing has 250, 300,000 miles, if somebody decides to buy a used one with no warranty, well, you're rolling the dice there. But a brand new one with Honda's technology, I find it infinitely superior to buying an actual electric car with a battery that runs it all the time. There's no anxiety with this for range. They go a long time. You can go fast, you can go slow. It's a Honda Accord. I mean, it rides great, it looks great. I gotta say, I'm impressed by this car. Of course, I'm a cheapskate. I'm not gonna shell out 35 grand on a car, right? So, it'll be a while before you see me owning one of these, but you never know what'll happen in the future, you know? You never know, but as it stands today, if you're gonna buy one of these, get the extended warranty. I know I say usually don't, but in this case, yes, you would, because that hybrid system is so complex. It'll make your head spin. And if it did break and you didn't have a warranty, not only would you spend a fortune, if anybody can even fix it, you might be waiting months just for the car rental it's worth to buy the extended warranty. This is a brand new WRX. Their all-wheel drive systems are probably the most bulletproof in the world. Now take the Subaru automatic transmissions. Not so bulletproof. This is a standard transmission. It's a manual transmission with all-wheel drive. And in his case, he lives in North Carolina. Doesn't snow much at all. He just keeps regular tires on it the whole time. But don't be confused by all-wheel drive. If you've seen a previous video that I made with a WRX, the guy lived up north. He didn't put snow tires on it. He kept running into the snowbank, sliding all over the place. He said, well, you know, I'm going to have to put snow tires on this thing. It doesn't cut the mustard. Understand, all-wheel drive sends a certain amount of power to the front versus the rear, depending on the conditions. So they corner well. If you are a relatively aggressive driver, yeah, you might want all-wheel drive because of the added control. But don't think it's going to work in the snow unless you put snow tires on it. That's just the way it goes. And then you have to realize another thing. The way the modern all-wheel drive systems split power, if you do have an all-wheel drive vehicle, you got to have all 4 tires exactly the same. If they aren't exactly the same size, from where, or you bought a different tire, it'll confuse the computer system and all the hydraulics, and it can destroy parts inside your transfer case. They're not the same size. They have to be all 4 tires the same size. So if you buy snow tires, you got to buy all 4 or you'll end up destroying the transmission and some of the internal parts on the all-wheel drive system. If you really think you need an all-wheel drive vehicle, hey, a modern Subaru is not a bad choice because those systems are pretty much bulletproof. I've never seen an all-wheel drive system break down in a Subaru from normal driving. I've seen them break from being in wrecks, from smashing through ditches, but I've never seen them break on their own. They are really well-built all-wheel drive systems. But if you're a non-aggressive driver, you often don't need an all-wheel drive vehicle. It's overkill. You're paying more. They cost more money. Well, of course, in the case of Subarus, they don't cost more money because they only make them that way. You don't have a choice. But in other manufacturers, you always pay more. And in most cases, you really don't need to have all-wheel drive. He and his fiance like going out in the woods and stuff, so they like the idea of having something that if they're going on an old trail, going up some old mountain roads that are dirt and gravel or whatever, he's not going to get stuck. And they're excellent for that, you know. It does give you peace of mind. And of course, if you're looking at all-wheel drive, do a lot of research on what you're looking at. Like I say, these Subarus are good, the Toyotas are really good, the Hondas are really good. You start getting into companies like Nissan, they're notorious for having problems. You're going to look at all-wheel drive, do a lot of research before you come down to what you're going to buy. Don't just say, oh, that's all-wheel drive, I'm going to buy it, because there's some crappy ones out there. You want one that is going to last because they're super expensive to work on when they break down. This particular one is the guy's fun car. It's got 271 horsepower. Now, yes, it does have a turbocharger. There's a big old intercooler to cool the hot air down before it goes into the engine so it runs more efficiently. Turbos will have a tendency of wearing out somewhat faster. Subaru's been putting turbos on these 4-cylinder ones for quite some time. They won't last as long as the non-turbo ones, but they have an awful lot more power. And these WRXs, at least most of the ones I've seen, are still made in Japan. And they're sporty little cars. Means them on room in the back seat so you can get friends with you too. Yeah, I sound like a broken record, right? Yeah, get them made in Japan. But unfortunately, it's true. The Japanese care more when they build their cars. I had a Toyota Camry station wagon I got from my wife used years ago, and it ran fine, but it rattled a lot, made a lot of noises, shook a little here and there. It was made in Kentucky. It wasn't made in Japan, and it didn't have the quality of a Japanese-made car. These things are still made in Japan. It's brand new, and he bought it for 33 grand. Taking consideration the average price of a new car today in the States is 50 grand, or $500 less than that, but pretty close to 50 grand, right? Way under the price of the average new car for something that's fun to drive around in, but still practical. It's got 4 doors, all-wheel drive. You're not going to get stuck in the mud somewhere. They're interesting cars because they are pretty sporty, but they're not your traditional sports car that they're known for falling apart. They get horrible gas mileage. These things don't. Now, it does have 271 horsepower, so he says he averages about 25 on the highway. They have this much fun. 25 miles a gallon is what you're going to get. You always sacrifice speed for fuel economy if you're going to get any type of car. You know, if you drove slower, you get a little bit better gas mileage. It's not horrible, not great. They started out as kind of a niche car manufacturer in the United States. People in Colorado that skied loved them. People out in the country loved them. Then they started making more cars and making them a lot faster and spiffier than the other ones. And generally, Subaru's done a pretty good job. Sure, the early ones had head gasket problems with the 4-cylinders. That hasn't happened for decades. They figured that out. Now, as a warning, again, everyone's going to say I sound like a broken record, but I would not buy a 6-cylinder boxer engine. They make 6-cylinder ones. This is a 4. They've just had too many problems. Burning oil when they have 50, 60,000 miles. I know what it is, but they never perfected their 6-cylinder engine. They started with the 4s. If you ask me, they should have just stuck to the 4s and not tried to make something bigger and faster. So let's take this thing for a spin. Of course, it's got the Subaru boxer sound. They all have that sound. And again, this is stock. He's not planning on doing anything other than driving it around. Now, it is a sporty car, and he likes driving sporty cars. You can feel and see, well, you can't feel, but I can. The ride is a little on the rough side because they're made for handling. They're a lot of fun to drive. So we're headed to our little drag strip here, and you'll see what 271 turbocharged horses will do in this WRX. And here we go. It threw me back in the seat, yes. These things have quite a bit of acceleration. That's the fun in these cars. That's why people buy them. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that 271 horsepower is plenty enough. You don't need to start souping the thing up. Kids always do. They want to go faster, right? This is a lot of fun, extremely reliable. You take care of it, change the oil regularly. You don't need to put any mods into it. It's plenty fast as it is, yet it's still pretty dependable, especially since it's got a 6-speed manual transmission. Plus, the non-turbo Subarus often have problems with their automatic transmissions, and the turbocharged ones doubly so. Your tranny's going to wear out a lot faster if you're an aggressive driver in a Subaru with a turbo and an automatic transmission. And I just found out that he was lying to me because his thing is saying he's getting 28.7 miles a gallon. The all-wheel drive handles great in twisties too. If you're a serious driver on the road, not straight line, you might think about all-wheel drive. They do handle much better. You got 4 wheels driving it, more control. Well, now you understand what's involved if you're buying an all-wheel drive vehicle. Extra expense, a little bit lower gas mileage, a lot better handling, rain. And of course, if you do buy 4 snow tires, then you got a killer machine for driving in the snow. Just how these things are set up. I've driven them with snow tires in the snow, and man, they handle like a dream. Mine were rental cars, and I didn't pay for the snow tires either. But now you can make a wise decision, and if you're thinking about getting a WRX, you see what this brand new one does. It's really a nice vehicle. Guy's having a lot of fun with it, and it's still practical. It's an everyday driver, gets decent gas mileage for the speed that it has, and since it is a Subaru, it's going to be all-wheel drive anyways, and if you do want to get an all-wheel drive vehicle, you could make a lot worse choice than buying a Subaru. Because let's face the facts today, this is a brand new vehicle. You're not going to find any all-wheel drive Toyotas for 30-something grand. It's going to be way over 30,000. This was 33. I've seen people pay 45, 55 up for the Toyotas, and that's a lot of money. I mean, if I was buying one, I never buy them new, but if I did, I'd think twice before paying another 15, 20 grand for a vehicle when I could get one for a lot less money. All right, people are always asking me, should they get a hybrid or not get a hybrid? Well, in this new Toyota Venza, you don't have a choice. It's only sold as an all-wheel drive hybrid system. As you can see, this thing is averaging 39 miles a gallon. For a vehicle of this size and weight, to get that kind of gas mileage, it's relatively phenomenal. We'll look under the hood. Very dependable 2.5 liter engine, no turbo, just 2.5, and the hybrid system here to give it boost. Now this is a Venza, but it's the same as the RAV4. I've driven the RAV4, I liked them, so I imagine I like this one I road tested. But you'll see these things are still pretty zippy, and they can get phenomenal gas mileage, right? Now, everybody knows I'm not a fan of CVT transmissions, right? But this is Toyota's eCVT. It's a bit different. They've been making them for quite some time. Prius has all had them. They've pretty much perfected them over time, because if you're going to have a hybrid system like this, about the only way you can do it is putting on a CVT transmission, because it can have different inputs to the same drivetrain. Where if you had a regular transmission, the only way you can do hybrid is a half-assed hybrid. Take Dodge, some of their trucks. They're mild hybrids, and they have this crazy Italian generator motor that's built into the engine, so the engine gets the boost through the same transmission. Okay, this is new and shiny. Got a timing chain, no timing belt. You don't even have to worry about that much maintenance on these things. And if you want all-wheel drive, there it is. That's the only way they make them now. You have to get an old version for a two-wheel drive. They only make them in all-wheel drive. They figure there's enough people that want them, that's how they're making them. I like the black trim and the black wheels with the white. It looks pretty good. And here's something interesting. Oh, the Nightshade version. It's the only version that has the black trim like that. Say you don't like the sun, okay? There's the sun. Well, there's a magic button somewhere over here. There it is. Watch this. Magic button. Okay? Now what do you see? All you see is that little dot of a sun, because this is opaque, done electronically on the switch. Watch. Here we go. It's opaque. We'll get rid of opaque. Boom, there comes the sun. And it's bothering you. You get opaque for a little bit of brightness. And of course, if you can't stand any of it, you can just close the whole sunroof if you want. And here it comes, electronically closing itself. And you don't have anything at all. But perhaps this black interior is too dark for you. Well, then what you do is you open the sunroof. It is a double sunroof, so. And then, there you go. You got a nice orange sun. Maybe you can use it to look at eclipse, I don't know. But it's all electronic here, because then when you push the button, like I said, now it's full sun, if you want it bright. But, to some people, that's too bright, so we'll push the button again. And then it's not as bright. Now, this is a hybrid, but it's not a plug-in hybrid, so when you push EV, you can drive it. And if you drive like a turtle for very short distances, say you want to sneak up on somebody, yeah, you can do that. But as soon as you drive it normal, step on the gas, the gasoline motor took in, because this is not a plug-in hybrid. This is a standard hybrid. Now, you take a RAV4 Prime plug-in. I did one of those a few months ago, and the guy told me he's been as far as 55 miles on electricity alone. He took it on a highway going 60, and it was still running on electricity until it got low. So if you want to try out a part electric car, you'd want to get a plug-in. Me, I'd rather have one of these because they're a lot simpler, the battery's smaller, and unlike plug-in EVs and full EVs, battery in this thing is safe. It's inside the car under here. If you got a full EV or a plug-in hybrid, all the batteries on the bottom of the car. And if you live up north, or anywhere really, but especially up north where it's so salt on the road in the winters, right? The salt water will get in those batteries and it can destroy the battery, the wiring system. Canadian government had a big rhubarb with the plug-in RAV4s that they made them fix them because the salt water ate away the wiring. Those were plug-in hybrids. This isn't a plug-in hybrid. You don't plug it in. It just charges itself while the engine's running or when you're doing regenerative braking. So it's a much simpler system, and it's got much less downsides than a full EV or even a plug-in hybrid has. It's got puddle lights under the mirror, so when you open the door you won't see it now because it's too bright, but at night it'll light up so you don't stand in a puddle when you get out. You can see it's got a very wide screen. Good definition. Look, now you're even wider. You can change the lines. Most people will just leave the lines like that. But if you really need wide vision, you can make them wider. Close, wide. Now it's pretty good if there's any kids walking around. You get a better view of what's going on. There's of course all the safety ones here. Traction control, you can turn off lane departure. Too lazy to open your trunk. There it goes. I've seen a lot of them don't do it. Let's see if it closes itself. You gotta hold it 2 seconds, and yes, look, it closes itself too. For the life of me, I could never figure out why they made ones that would open themselves but not close themselves. It only makes sense that you push the button, it opens, you push again, and it closes. We got wireless charging, that's standard on these. You can change the drive modes. You can go sport, normal, eco. Well, you know I'm gonna go sport. Heated seats in the front. Now, higher trims have cooled seats too, but this isn't the highest trim, so you don't get cooled seats. So you can have a hot fanny. We got it wide, you can really see what's going on there. And the warning works. Look at that. It kept me from smashing into them. Hey, I gotta say, that's impressive. My wife would love that. She said I'm never looking. I hate backing up. I only like going forward. Oh, here we go. What do you notice? It's really smooth. And this is the eCVT. It's a CVT, but it's all electronically controlled. And if anybody knows how to make them, it's Toyota, because they've been making them in Priuses for decades. And I was told something interesting. This is the sunroof, and you can see the sun because I have it on opaque mode, but it doesn't open. Finally, a sunroof that I like, because I don't want it to leak. This never opens, it won't leak, it's opaque. Finally, I'm not opening it, it's too hot or too cold outside all the time anyway. And we have it on the energy monitor, so you can see, turn the wheel back, you'll be able to see. You can see what's happening. We'll hit the brakes. Woo, energy goes to the battery. Look at that, isn't that magical? But that 39 miles a gallon, that's the average of all driving, which is kind of phenomenal. We're not just talking one is real high and one is real low. It always gets good gas mileage. You take a car that might get 38 on the road, a conventional car, it's probably going to get 22 in the city, stop and go. Well, this is regenerating electricity, so it does better. See, we got a sport mode, and there's nobody really coming, so take it to our little drag strip. You will hear the engine revving up more, because it's a CVT transmission, and that's what they do. So, now I can see someone's kind of sneaking up on us, so we'll have to do it fast. On your mark, get set, go! Not awe-inspiring, but it takes off decently and smooth. I just like automatic transmissions myself because they got a little more kick to them with actual gears. So we're going 50, 46. We're going to pass somebody. You can see. You're going, it gets to 60 fast enough. It's fine for driving. And unlike some hybrids that ride like go-karts, going over stone roads, this thing's got a pretty smooth ride to it. They got a decent suspension system on these things. The biggest gripe that most people have about Toyota Priuses is their ride is quite a bit on the weak side. This thing is a regular vehicle that's been hybridized, and it really has a nice ride. And it doesn't have much wind noise either. And I do have to say, I like the Nightshade, the black and chrome, and then the white and black with the black rims. It's got a nice look to it. And look, I didn't even notice. I was going 45. I was supposed to be going 20, and I had no problem whatsoever. I didn't even notice anything, so it really handles quite well. And once you get rolling, you can see, it picks up pretty good. When you come to a stop, now we'll turn it off of sport mode. And of course now, the only thing you hear is the fan, because the motor's turned off, and we're running on battery power. So it's really quiet when it's just sitting there. So there you have it. They're only hybrid, the Venzas now. I gotta say, had a nice ride, decent acceleration, all kinds of accoutrements to it. Me, of course, I'm a cheapskate. I'd probably go get a Toyota Corolla Cross because it's like $12,000 cheaper. I'm cheap, right? But, you know, if you don't mind going in the 40s and you want a small SUV like this and it fits your need, go road test one. I'm really happy with it. You know, I'm a cheapskate. So I won't buy one until it gets really old or a customer gets too tired. They'll just sell it cheap and I'll buy it and drive it for another 200,000-300,000 miles, right? But if you're looking for a car like this, hey, it's got a dependable 4-cylinder engine, it's not turbocharged, and it's a hybrid. Toyota's hybrid. I've seen the RAV4s, Camry hybrids, 250, they're still on the original battery, they're still getting great gas mileage. So, and regardless of when you buy it, Toyota gives a 10-year, 150,000 mile warranty on the battery. A lot of people, 150,000 miles to them, oh, I'll get rid of my car. You don't have to worry about the battery. And even if you did by then, if the battery went bad, there's reconditioned batteries available for a much cheaper. I had a customer in Chicago, drove a Camry hybrid for Uber, and he bought another battery and installed parts and labor. It only cost him $1,300. He had like $250 on his Camry. It finally started to go out, the hybrid battery, so he had a guy install that, and it worked perfectly fine. His gas mileage went back up to normal. So they're not that bad if you get a Toyota. Now, if you're thinking about getting BMW or Mercedes or Audi hybrid, well, you better have a lot of money in the bank to pay for repairs as it breaks down. These are known for not breaking down, those aren't. You really got to pick and choose if you're going to buy a hybrid. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.